All right. Can everybody hear me still? Okay, cool. All right, so my veterans, you know the drill. If you have a question or what have you, go ahead and shoot it to me in the chat, or unmute yourself and speak up. That's fine too. We keep these pretty informal, so we're going to go through a lot of stuff tonight. A lot of stuff that I'm going to show you in Blackboard that some people may or may not be familiar with, but just to kind of give you an overall view of what you need to know for this class, first of all, and that's going to be the first part of this. Some tips, tricks, and helpful information on how to make an A. And then we're also going to go ahead and go over chapters 1 and 2, which is module 1 for you guys. I will walk you through the first part of the problems and let you know what I need to see in your homework. And the first 2 chapters are pretty straightforward and easy. Don't let the formulas and the wording in the book get you confused. They make it usually more difficult than what it has to be. So let's go ahead and go through Blackboard real quick and basically take a look at some of the administrative details that we need to. Can everybody see my Blackboard? Okay, cool. All right, so first things first, always read my announcements. I put a lot of information in these announcements that you guys need to know. Those that have been with me before understand that. I will put a lot of little tips and hints of where you can find information in the announcements, and pretty much if I put it in an announcement, you need to make sure that you do it or follow it. To get an A in this class, you've got to have 940 points out of 1,000. So that's not going to be an easy task, and we need to work together to make sure that that happens. Some of the keys to that are don't ever be late on an assignment. Like I just got done telling some of you, I do stay very busy, so it's important to me that when I block off time to do grading and give you guys feedback on what you need to make sure you take a look at, or to do these webinars or whatever, typically I'm blocking out that space in time just for you. So I don't work on anything with my doctoral or my day job or anything else. That's for you guys. So if somebody's late on an assignment, that kind of throws off my schedule. And, with it being that tight, I'd really, really, really appreciate if we could get everything in on time. Obviously, I know life happens, and I'm not oblivious to that. I've had that happen to me several times already in my doctoral degree. So, I get things happen, and I get there are family emergencies and things like that, and I will do whatever I can to work with you, but I also need good quality work coming in, and I need you guys to submit stuff on time. So announcements are some of the biggest things. You'll see I've posted the Module 1 study guide here. Let's talk about the study guide real quick. Everybody always asks me, how do I know what's going to be on the quiz? Well, this is it right here. And for those that were in financial accounting with me, you know that pretty much what's on that study guide, that's what's on the quiz. So I don't answer the questions for you. I ask you the questions in a different way than what the quiz is going to ask you. But if you go through, you look up the answers, and you answer those questions and you know them before you go into that quiz, which you only have 30 minutes to take. It's 18 or 19 true-false questions, always. So it will, every week you'll have a quiz. You'll have a quiz during the midterm week, and you'll have a quiz during the final week, which is a short week. So you really have to plan your time out. With the quiz, you have, like I said, 30 minutes. Please, 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 please do not do your quiz or anything in Blackboard on Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer, from my understanding, may be going away altogether, and they may come out with something different. So it's got a lot of bugs in it. I can tell you that from a professional perspective as well. We actually have software in the company that I work for that is built on Internet Explorer only, and we have ridiculous amounts of problems with it. In addition to, our ERP does not work well on Internet Explorer. We use pretty much anything Google, Chrome, and Firefox. So for Blackboard, make sure you're using Chrome or Firefox when you go in to take that quiz, because chances are if you go in Internet Explorer, it's not going to work. So please make sure you abide by that. Go in through Chrome and Firefox. Anything else in the study guide? Just basically make sure you do it before you take the quiz. Be prepared. Okay? That should help your quiz grade. The webinars. This week we're doing the first one on Tuesday, obviously, because I want to get it in before your homework's due. Speaking of homework, I am going to go ahead and extend your homework due date, because several people have had problems with getting the correct book. McKendree apparently sent out the wrong books to people. So in fairness to all, I'm going to extend the due date on the homework to Friday at midnight. And for those of you that don't get it in before the answers come out, I'm going to trust that you don't look at the answers. Okay? So the answers are still going to come out at the same time, but you're welcome, Lacey. But because I don't want to impede on people's schedules of, maybe somebody wants to go ahead and get the quiz out of the way and be done for the week and move on to week 2. I understand that there are those of you who like to work ahead, and I don't want to prohibit that as much as possible, because I'm the same way. I have a very busy schedule. If I can get a little bit ahead, I'd like to do it. So if you don't get your book by Friday, let me know ahead of time, okay? I will work with you. The first week is typically the easiest. The problems are not that hard this week, but I do need people to turn in their homework and to turn it in on time. So Friday midnight, I will put an announcement out about that here after this webinar, okay? Let's see, what else? So that's talking about the webinars. Otherwise, will typically be on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. The week of April 25th through May 3rd. We will probably do it on Thursday evening, because we are leaving here Friday evening, and I will be on a boat in the Caribbean from Saturday until Sunday of the following week. So I won't be able to do a webinar at that time, especially an hour-long one. I will have access to the internet while I'm away. We have internet on the boat. We have internet on the islands, so that's no problem. I just want to minimize as much as possible, because if any of you have ever been on a cruise, you know how expensive the internet on the boat is. So I don't want the national debt in internet expense if possible. But I will be available. I'll be available for all your questions and things like that. I will probably not get your homework graded until I get back, simply because it does take me a while. I go through and take a look at it, but you will still have the answers that will be released on Thursday morning, so you can go in and see what you missed. So please don't think that you're being held up for that. So you will have the answers. You can compare what you did and see what you did wrong. If you have any questions, all you have to do is shoot me an email. I also do text, and am happy to talk to anybody on the phone. Obviously that week I won't be able to talk to people on the phone probably, but I can still do text. So my cell phone information, all of that is listed over here in the instructor portion. So this is my where it says work phone, that's my cell phone. So you guys are connected to me anytime you need. That's also a good way to get a hold of me during the week because I go in and out of meetings a lot at work. So just text me, email me, as soon as I can, I will answer you back, I promise. I definitely make sure I get back to you within 24 hours. So usually it's more like 4 to 8. So if I have a delay at all. Let's see. Other announcements. So this is the welcome announcement. It's on everybody. It's on both of my sections. I have 2 sections of managerial accounting. It's basically telling you almost everything that I'm going through right now. Go through the modules and see what you're expected to do every week. So, okay, Christian, here you go. I'll make sure that I fix that on the instructor one. It might be just one section not doing it. So that's my cell phone number right there that I just listed. It's 618-558-6276. That's where, just write it down. You can get a hold of me, put it in your phones, whatever. Get a hold of me anytime. You also have my email, which is lrbates@mckendree.edu. That's the other best way. And I do have that email address on my phone, so I get it instantly. Either way. The big announcement down here is basically your tips for the entire class. Homework problems. I'd like for you to do it in either Excel, Word, or PowerPoint. Please don't send me anything in writing, okay, in handwriting, because it gets hard to read. Please make sure that on your homework assignments, you're doing them in an organized fashion so that it isn't hard for me to go down and read. And I apologize if you hear my dogs barking in the background. They have minds of their own. So on your homework problems, make sure that you're doing the right problems. One of the points of confusion is always, okay, which one do I do? M1-13. So you need to go into your book and find M1-13. So if we go back up, let's see. I've got the digital version of the book, so mini exercises, that would be what we consider M1. So M1-13, accounting terminology. For that, all you're going to do is match, one ethics, so match it to one of these descriptions, which in that case it would be L. Is that right? Am I on the right problem? Okay. So all you have to do is put a letter next to the number. That's all I need to see. So like number 1, L, number 2, whatever, A, number 3, N. Okay, that's not the right answer, by the way. Just go ahead and do them, but I'm just giving you an answer or, a format. With problems, I would like for you to show me your work and make sure that you do it in an organized fashion so that it's easy for me to see your thought process through that work. Okay, so don't just put down an answer. Give me the entire step because I need to be able to see. I do go through your homework and I will take a look at your thought process and where you're going wrong so that if I see you're thinking about something incorrectly or you're taking the wrong step to get to an answer, I'll let you know that so that maybe it'll clear some confusion or what have you before a quiz or the midterm or the final. Quizzes, again, 18 to 19 true-false every single week. The exams, you will have 2 exams. They are worth 350 points apiece. They are 10 problems, okay? Each one of them is 10 problems. So the midterm has 10 problems. The final has 10 problems. They're lengthy problems. You'll have to work them out. But if you work the homework and you do that every week and you learn from your mistakes on that, you will be fine on the midterm and the final, I promise you. We will review for the midterm and the final on weeks 4 and week 8 webinars. So you should be prepared for that. Shouldn't be a problem at all. The webinars, make sure if you can't make it that you do come back in and watch them. And, you know, rewind, do whatever you can to pick it up. I know last time we had some problems with being able to rewind, but hopefully that won't be a problem this time. Great. So, like I said, what do you need to make an A? 940 out of 1,000 points. Yes, Jeanette, both exams are take-home. So you use your notes, your books, you can use whatever you want on them. They're both take-home. They're not timed. You literally download, you'll see in week 4 when week 4 is released, you'll see in week 4 that it's just a Word document and you have to solve the problems. So this time they are both take-home. They're both in Word documents. It's both 10 problems. You know, so you get it, I think, 2 days before the week starts, the official week starts, and you have the rest of the week to work on it. And then you just have to email it to me. Okay? So getting an A, 940 out of 1,000 points. That's what it is. So you have to make sure it's your responsibility to make sure that you're putting your best work forward and that you're not missing problems. Obviously, those exams, with them being worth 350 points and only having 10 questions, each question's worth 35 points. So do the math. You miss 2 on that, or you don't do 2 on that, you're probably not going to make an A. So just please make sure you check your work and that you've saved often. One of the biggest mistakes that I get is that somebody turns in work that they forgot to save before they hit the email button on it, and it doesn't save everything, and then I get like number 1, and that's all I get. So make sure when you're emailing me those documents that you check the attachment first to make sure it has A, the right version of whatever you're sending me, and B, it has all of the problems on it that you're sending me. Because once you submit it, I assume that that's what you're submitting. Okay? So please make sure your work's complete and make sure that you've saved often. Okay? So let's talk about the class, what this is going to cover real quick. So managerial accounting is all about cost and budgeting and planning and forecasting. Okay? So in financial accounting, you went through and you learned all about the different types of financial statements, like the income statement, the balance sheet, statement of cash flows, etc., etc. You also learned some about financial analysis. Well, in this one, we're going to learn all about cost and tracking costs and what companies do to try to minimize cost or plan around it. We're also going to do a lot of planning and budgeting and forecasting, which is also a huge part of what companies do. I will tell you as an accountant that this is one of the very highly sought after skills in the world of accounting and in the corporate world, and you have to be good at it. Not everybody is, not everybody pays attention to the detail, but at the same time, if you can master this, you can get some pretty good jobs out there. It's definitely in a heavily demanded field. Let's see, what else? Questions? If you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. That's what I'm here for. So I'm here to help you guys, and I'm happy to do it. I think all of the veterans will attest to the fact I'm pretty quick to answer. PowerPoint lectures with voiceover, that's another thing I want you guys to make sure you're going over. So in here, in your modules, let's go to Module 1. Okay, this one's available. So in your modules, you've got a PowerPoint deck with voiceover. Okay, so you just download it, open it up, and the instructions and everything on how to play those PowerPoints is in this orientation guide. Okay, so here's that. And I think everybody, for the most part, has told me they've read this and understand it. Please make sure, if you haven't gone on to the student discussion board, student biography discussion board, that you do so and introduce yourself to us. We definitely like to try to encourage, camaraderie between you guys online as well. And one good way to do that is in the discussion board. Please also, if you have questions that you're comfortable asking and, in an environment where the entire class can see it, make sure it's not, one about your grade or something like that. But if it's a question about a problem or a concept or something that you think the entire class would benefit from seeing an answer to, please ask it in those discussion boards, because I am more than happy to answer them there. That way, if you have a question, you might go check there first before you reach out to me and then have to wait to get an answer. Okay, so if it's in the discussion board, you can just go right to it and possibly find your answer. Okay, so let's see. Yes, you must enable editing on the PowerPoint slides before you will be able to use the voice icon to listen to the slides. So there's basically a voiceover on them as well. And I would encourage you to go into that and watch them, listen to them before you try to take the quiz or anything too. Okay? Let's see, what else? Now you see why I make these nice long announcements. Oh, feedback. Please, if there's something that you think, that you've had a professor do in another class that you really liked, and you think the class would benefit by me doing it, let me know what it is. I'm always open to feedback. I'm open to whatever format you guys think might work to help you learn the material the best. Okay? So if you wait until the end when you guys have to do the surveys, it's kind of too late. So if you let me know in the beginning, or if there's something that you'd like for me to try out or what have you, I'm more than happy to do that. This is your class. Please don't hesitate. I'm here for you guys. I want you to learn. I want you to be successful. So don't hesitate to give me some feedback up front, and just let me know how I can help. All right, so any questions about any of the logistics about the class? Okay, everyone's good. All right. All right, so let's go on, and we're going to go through the chapters like I would every week. Okay, so let's start with Chapter 1, and basically Chapter 1's pretty easy. It's all concepts. It's basically getting, kind of just reintroducing you to ethics and, talking more about GAAP and SOX. You've got the corporate governance systems. So here's SOX, right? It's Sarbanes-Oxley, and it is heavily tested. I will tell you from a perspective of having been in both public companies and private companies. I'm now in what was a privately held company that is now owned by a very large worldwide public company as of November, because we got bought. That SOX compliance and GAAP compliance is very real. It is a huge part of many organizations. So basically, GAAP tells us what our generally accepted accounting principles are. SOX tells us, how we have to test to make sure that we have the proper internal controls. And this all came about thanks to our friends at Enron and Arthur Andersen and things like that. They are the ones that inspired SOX. So basically now you have to have managers sign off on everything, be able to show audit trails that tie back to your billing, that tie back to any requests, even for things like IT. SOX compliance doesn't just hit accounting, it hits all of the departments. So you have to be able to show like chain of command type things for anything SOX related. You have to be able to show that improve your revenue, for instance, in a company. That's a big one. You have to be able to show that you're actually collecting the money that you're billing. That's another big one. So again, all of this is just mainly to protect A, shareholders, B, it's actually to protect employees too. It's always good to be able to show, like what you've done to get approvals, what you've done to make sure that the actions you're taking were ethical, they were within standardized practice of your company, and that your manager signed off on it. So SOX protects everybody. It protects shareholders, it protects you as the employee, it protects managers, So while it is a pain to many of us, it is also a protection for all of us. Corporate social responsibility, that's basically what the entire first chapter talks about. So it's basically all just conceptual. And when you get down to your problems, that's this mini exercise that I showed you, this M1-13. Again, just a matching exercise. So does anybody have any questions over Chapter 1 so far? Nope. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to Chapter 2. So this is where we start getting into the actual calculations. All right? And I'm sure, how many people, just survey here, how many people have actually already read both Chapter 1 and 2? Good job, Jeanette. Okay. How many? Okay, good. Has anybody gotten scared off already by some of this and some of this right here and all of that? Okay. As we saw with financial accounting, oh good, Amber, yay, it looks like fun. Okay. So I've created monsters apparently. Everybody likes accounting now. Okay, great. I'm happy to see that. Okay, so basically cost. There's basically three types of costs that you're going to work with in this chapter. Variable cost, fixed cost, and mixed cost. Okay? So don't let all of these charts and everything else scare you. Okay? It's very basic. Variable costs are just costs that have that change over time. Okay? They change with activity. That's all there is to it. Okay? So, it could be something like utilities. They change with usage. Okay? Fixed costs. Those don't change. So let's say, for instance, you have a consulting agreement with somebody and it's a flat rate. Okay, so like flat rate costs never change. You're going to be billed the same $5,000 a month for that consultant, no matter how much activity they use. Okay, so Fixed costs are completely flat. They never change. All right, and then mixed costs, they also call them semi-variable, will contain both a fixed component and a variable component. So a good example of this is when you have like a contract with somebody that A has a fixed component to it. So let's say that you've got some kind of a gold standard support level that you pay $1,000 a month for, but then if you go over X amount of hours on that, it becomes another $50 an hour on top of that. So, you know, for instance, you could almost think of your cell phone bill like this too, because I know that some places still charge overage fees. All right, so typically you're going to have that flat, I pay $39.95 a month for phone service. But if I go over 1,000 minutes or 2 gig of data, then I have to pay an overage charge. That overage charge is the variable component. So that would be considered a mixed type cost. Okay? There's also step costs. So these are pretty constant within a narrow range of activity, but they do shift, okay, when the activity exceeds a higher range. So this is like tiering, like a tiered type contract where, let's say, you have a cell phone plan that uses like up to 1,000 minutes, you're at $39.95. If you go to 1,500, you're at $49.95, so on and so forth. So that would be an example of like a step cost, okay? Coming down here, this is basically talking you through or walking you through how to be able to determine variable cost, fixed cost, mixed cost, etc. And I think the best way for us to determine is to actually go down and go through some of your problems. So I'm going to run down through here real quick in this chapter because you guys can read the chapter. I'm not gonna go through and you know, the entire chapter. So you've got relevant range you should know. This is a good example down here. Okay, so if you take a look at this total cost, how to determine this with X number of customers served, this is going to show you a pattern or a behavior. Okay, and so read through that example and make sure that you understand it. Let's see. I don't think there's a whole lot about committed and discretionary fixed costs that show up on the quiz. Cost estimation. So this is the main concept of this chapter that you need to know, is the high-low method of cost estimation. This is the big one, okay? So this formula right here, variable cost per unit, is equal to the difference in total cost divided by the difference in activity, okay? So what you're doing is you're taking the low side of the cost and the high side of the cost. You're subtracting the two on top, so that's the difference, okay? And then you're taking the difference in activity, so the low side of the activity that corresponds to the low cost and the high side of the activity that corresponds to the high cost, subtracting those two out, and you're getting your differences. Once you get those differences, you then divide those two, and that's going to give you your variable cost per unit. So that's basically what you have to figure out in every one of the problems that you're looking at in Chapter 2. Okay? So this is the main focus of Chapter 2 right here for the problems. Okay? This kind of goes through that very thing. So, and then fixed costs, this is your fixed cost formula. So notice this is variable, this is the fixed. The fixed costs are the total cost minus the variable costs. So if you got a problem that says what are the fixed costs and it doesn't give you your variable cost, you have to figure that out first. So you have to come back and say, I need to figure out this right here. Okay? Once you figure that out, you can figure out your variable costs and then figure out your fixed cost. Okay, so remember how we had to, in financial accounting, kind of work our way backwards in problems? Same thing here. Okay, so just make sure you're familiar with that and you're ready to work your way backwards to get your answer. Okay? This is a good example for you to go through, and we're actually going to go through one of your problems, so I'm not going to go through this one. Let's see. Cost prediction talks about that, which is the forecasting of future costs. It's a common practice, and you're going to be doing a lot of it in this class. Okay? So this is something you definitely need to know. You've got all kinds of scatter graphs and things like that. You can take a look at that. This is the least squares regression model. Okay? Basically, it, like it says, is a mathematical technique to fit cost estimation on the observed data. So here you go. Excel does do the least squares regression model for you. So I would encourage you to get familiar with that in Excel and teach yourself that. It's very easy to do. If you have a problem with it, just let me know and I'll be happy to walk you through it. But I will encourage you throughout this class to do a lot in Excel. You can, yes, like in statistics. So you can do all kinds of formulas in Excel, right? You can, and I'll show you where it is here. Let me pull Excel up. Just pull up a blank workbook, okay? So if you come over here to formulas, there are all kinds of formulas up here. Now this is the most recent version. You have the financial formulas, you have logical formulas, text formulas, date and time, lookup and reference, math and trig, and more functions. Okay, so like here's statistical, here's all of those. All right, engineering, cube, information, compatibility, web, blah, 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 blah. All right, auto sum, here's your sum, average, count numbers, min, max, more functions. Okay, recently used, right? Here's like standard deviation, etc. Now, there's all kinds of free online tutorials about how to make yourself an Excel whiz. I will tell you right now that in the corporate world, if you haven't already gotten there, Excel is one of the most heavily sought after, and it is also one that most places will not, give on you knowing, is knowing how to do formulas and things like that in Excel. It's just so heavily dependent upon in especially financial realm, so, and planning and things like that. So make sure that you teach yourself Excel. It's one of the best things you can do. Access is also heavily sought after, and any other software packages you can pick up. Okay, the more technical knowledge you have, the better chance you have at getting hired over somebody that doesn't, because there are so many people out there that don't know it, that they need people that do. Okay? So that's Excel. Make sure you take a look at that. Using this equation, this is going to predict June 2011 packaging department costs for this example. So it's basically taking like $3,400 plus the variable cost times the amount of units. Okay, so it shows you here that with 5,000 budgeted shipments, there are 14,400. So what makes that number up is the 3,400 plus 220 per shipment times 5,000 shipments. That gives you that 14,400. It's a simple formula. Okay. Here are the advantages. You do need to know those. Okay. Here's more multiple regression analysis. Okay. They do try to simplify it a little bit. I will say that for them. Let's see. Okay. One of the things that you do need to know that is quizzed on is basically the changing composition of the total manufacturing costs. So like if something goes up, what comes down, and vice versa. Those are some things. There are a couple of questions on the quiz that says if X goes up, or this comes down, true or false. Okay, so just be prepared for those. So this would be a good section that you should look at and really know. So it talks about direct materials, labor, manufacturing overhead, etc. Okay. Know your hierarchies, your cost hierarchies. And this is a good chart right here that tells you the activity costs, examples of activity costs at unit level, batch level. It kind of gives you a good breakdown of what each one of these are. So make sure you understand that. Read over it. Okay. And that's the chapter review. Okay, so let's take a look at 2-18. Exercise. So this is an exercise. Anytime it says E, that's E-2 or 2-18. Alright, so this one is fairly simplistic. This is the high-low cost estimation. You can do this in Excel, you can do it in PowerPoint, it doesn't matter which one you do. Okay, so in this example, it's basically asking you to use the high-low method to develop a cost estimation equation for the total annual operating costs. Now, notice it says develop a cost estimating equation. Okay, so it's asking you for the equation. It's not asking you for a final answer. All right, so for instance, you're going to take the variable cost, and it is going to be, this is your formula. Remember again, you're going to take this 214,000 and you're going to subtract the 182,000, and then you're going to divide that by 684,000 minus 556,000. Okay, and that's going to give you your cost per mile. Okay, so that's the first part of it. Then you have to figure out the fixed cost. All right, the fixed cost is going to be either or one of the two. So that's where you're going to take the 214,000 minus whatever that per unit amount is times the 684,000. Okay, and that's going to give you your fixed cost. Then you're going to say, or depending on which year it was in, I'm going to do the same thing. The 182,000 minus the per unit cost that you have to figure out times this 556,000. So you'll have fixed costs that are either or, okay, depending on which one it is. And I will tell you the fixed cost should come out to be the same number. Okay, so your answer should be the same no matter which line item you're on. Okay? So then you figure out your total annual cost equation, which is going to be total annual costs equals the answer of whatever your two fixed costs is, plus the variable per unit amount, X. Okay? So just to give you an example of what I'd like to see, I'm going to do this one problem for you so everybody should get it right. Alright, so over here you're going to put variable costs. Right? And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say equals. No, I don't want it to be a formula. Well, I'm not going to put the equal sign because Excel doesn't like that. Anyway, So your equation is going to look like this. 214,000 minus 182,000 divided by 684,000 minus, I need to put my, you don't want to do that. Put parentheses around that. Minus 556,000. Close my parentheses. So that's my equation to get my variable costs. Okay? And if I went and I put an equal sign in front of that, and take out these commas, it solves it for me. So if I go in, you can see my formula right here. Okay? This helps you avoid a calculator too. As long as I can go in and see that you've got a formula in there, this is fine. Okay? So I don't have to see the equation out over the side here without the equal sign. Okay? But I do have to be able to go in here in the formula bar and see that you did this via an equation. Okay? That way I can come in and figure out if you did something wrong, I can figure out what it is. Okay? So we're going to do the fixed cost now. So there's going to be two versions of the fixed cost. And I'm going to do this in an equation this time. Okay? So now we take one line that shows us the 214,000 minus, and I'm going to put this in parentheses, the 0.25 that we have up there in that, which actually, let's do this the right way. This times 684,000. So that's our activity, right? Close our parentheses. Gives me my answer, 43,000. Again, as long as I can come in here and see that you have a formula right here, I'm fine with there just being an answer in this cell. We've got one other line to figure on the fixed cost, so we have to figure both years. We don't just figure one year, we have to figure both years. So in this case, the other year is 182,000 minus the 0.25 times 556,000. Okay? Again, look at there. That's what I said. There, you would have the same answers, right? So then our total annual cost equation is going to look like this. And this is where you will need to type this out so that I can see the equation. Total annual costs equals this number, the 43,000, plus 0.25 x. Okay? Where x equals annual fleet miles. That is problem E2-18 in a nutshell. That's what I would like to see in an Excel format. Okay? So make sure you label the problem E2-18. Okay? And then to keep it simple on me, rather than doing a bunch of extra sheets, if you would do your Excel problems, or whether you do them in Excel or PowerPoint or whatever, if you would do it all in one, if you do it in PowerPoint, you have to do it in different slides. But if you do it in Excel, which I would prefer, just put it all in one sheet and just go down the sheet, because it's easier for me just to scroll down and read through them. Okay, unless it's like a really complex problem that's going to take up a ton of room, then yes, put it on a different sheet by all means. So the other problem that you have to work is E2-21, and that one's a little bit longer. Okay, so in this one, the first part of it, you have to tell whether these costs are variable or fixed or mixed. Okay, don't be fooled. Who can tell me what wages and fringe benefits are? Are those variable, fixed, or mixed? Mixed. Good job, Jeanette. They are mixed. Okay? Wages and benefits can have both variable and fixed components. What's salary? Is it variable or fixed? Think about salary. Think about somebody who's paid salary. That's fixed. Very good. Very good. Okay? But hourly people, what are they? Variable. Exactly. So that's what makes wages and fringe benefits a mixed expense. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Okay, good. So just go down through here and make sure that you're thinking about all of the possibilities within each one of these categories. Okay? So like utilities, some people may say that's variable. Some people may say it's fixed. It depends on which utility you're talking about. Okay? And it depends on the municipality. So when you see bundles like this, right, you've got to think about, is it variable, fixed, or mixed? Okay? Supplies. You know, you may have some fixed supply expense. You may have some variable. Is it mixed? Yes. All right? So just go down through here and make sure you're really thinking about some of these, because they will trick you. Okay? Rent, you can kind of see that doesn't change. Okay? All right, so A, that's what you do in A, is you identify whether it's variable, fixed, or mixed. Okay? Then B, you're going to do by line item. Okay, so by each one of these line items, you're going to use the high-low method to develop a schedule that identifies the amount of each cost that is mixed or variable per unit. So the total, so basically what you need to do, and I'll show you the setup here that I'd like to see. So come down here in Excel, and for this problem, you're going to have several columns. So the first column, you're going to tell what type of cost it is. Okay? Then you're going to give a description, and it should be the same description that we see in the actual problem. I'll show you here in a minute. Then in the next column, you're going to do fixed cost. In the next column, you're going to do a variable cost. And don't panic if you've already submitted. I've actually had some people already submit their homework. I know that, you know, some of you have already done that, so we're okay. Don't worry about it. I'm just showing you kind of best way to set this up. Okay, so for instance, what's the first line going to be? Is it going to be variable, fixed, or mixed? Jeanette, yes, the supplies would be mixed. So cost of food sold, is that going to be variable, fixed, or mixed? When you think about selling food, is there any time that you could think of an instance where that would be fixed? Likely not, right? So if you can't think of a time where there might be a fixed component to that expense, then it has to be variable. Why? Well, if it's not fixed, then it's definitely not mixed, because mixed has to have the fixed component, right? So this is going to be variable, and it's the cost of food. And underneath this, so I want you to take like 2 lines to do this. Underneath this, I'd like to see the actual formula that you're using, okay? So in this case, you're going to do just like we did in the previous problem. You're going to do 20,000 minus the 10,000, okay, divided by 10,000 minus 5,000. Okay, and that's your formula. Now that is, because we said this is variable, that is going to be placed over here in the variable cost column, okay? So you can put that formula in here, and it gives you your cost, your variable cost, okay? And just put an X out to the side of that, okay? So then you're going to go down and you're going to do your next line. So let's say the next line is your wages and fringe benefits. Is that variable, fixed, or mixed? Help me out here, guys. Wages and fringe benefits, variable, fixed, or mixed? It's the one we just talked about. Okay, it is mixed. Okay? Remember, in wages and fringe benefits, we can have people that have fixed salaries. So they're going to make $5,000 a month every month. That's fixed, right? But then we're going to have those hourly employees that they make $10 an hour times, some work 20, some work 25, some work 22, okay, hours a week, all right? So variable, fixed, mixed. This is going to be mixed. So you would do the same thing, wages and fringe benefits. Okay? Put your formula down below here, and you're going to identify the fixed costs in this column. So for instance, in this one, if we go back to our book, okay, so in this one, you've got 4,250, 4,400, and 4,500. Okay? So in order to find our fixed, and this is what I'm going to work with you because this is a little different, okay? In order to find our fixed cost, we've got to do a couple of things here, okay? We're going to find our variable cost first, and then we're going to find our fixed cost. So the first line is going to have your variable cost over here. So what's the formula for that? Our formula is 4,500 minus 4,250, okay, divided by 10,000 minus 5,000. You see where I'm getting those numbers from? Okay. Then we're going to put that formula over here to get our actual answer. Don't forget your parentheses or you won't come out with the right answer. Okay, so there's our answer. Our variable cost is 5 cents. Okay, so that's our x, or times our x. All right, then we're going to come down here and we're going to figure out the mixed cost. So in order to figure out the mixed cost, we're going to take we're going to take one of the lines, or one of the amounts. Okay, you only have to do one. So let's take the 4,500, right? So this is going to be, we're going to put a bracket around this, 4,500 minus the 5 cents, okay, times the 10,000 units. Okay, and then we're going to close our bracket. Oops, wrong one. All right, that is going to determine our fixed cost. Does anybody have any questions on that fixed cost one while I'm typing it into this cell? Anybody not understand what I'm doing with that? Yeah, it doesn't like the brackets. So we're going to do double. There you go. Okay. So, does everybody see how I came up with that fixed cost? Are you guys all okay on that? You understand how I got it? Okay. Good. Alright. So there's the first two lines for you. Your job is to do the rest of them. Okay? So that's showing you how to get the variable cost and the fixed cost. Now, down at the very bottom, after you go through and you do all of the other categories, okay, you're going to get your total cost equation. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to sum everything in each column. Okay, so just do this. Alright, and it's going to come up with whatever your total is. Okay, so same thing here. That's why I had you put the X out to the side, because it's easier if you just go through and then sum all of this. Okay, so those aren't the right answers because obviously you have to put in all the other components like the fees paid, delivery help, the rent on the building, the depreciation, the utilities, the supplies, and the admin costs. Okay? But you're going to follow the same guidelines that I did with these two. So if it's a variable cost, you're only going to have an answer in this variable line right here. If it's a mixed cost, you're going to have one line that has a variable component and you're going to have one line that has a fixed component. If it's a fixed cost, you're only going to have something in this column. Does everybody understand that? Perfect. Great. Love it. All right, so once you get that, once you get your total costs down here, then you come down and you're going to say where X equals unit sales, because that's what the X is, okay? And then in C, you have to figure out what these are going to be, okay? Because in C, it's going to ask you to compute the total cost of a given scenario. So here, you're going to put in your total costs equals, and then you're going to take whatever the total is of this column and add it to the total times 10,000 units, which is what they give you in C. The total times 10,000 units. So 10,000 is going to be your X, right? So you're basically just computing your total cost equation here to get your answer, okay? We will need to show work on the fixed. The question is asking about variable and mixed only. Yes, you do have to show your work on the fixed because you have to have the fixed in order to get the total cost in C. This is one of those problems that, you know, even though they don't ask you about it, you're still going to have to compute it because you have to have it to get the answer for C. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Alrighty. So that's your homework for the week. Anybody have any questions on it? Okay, great. How do you guys feel about this so far? Is it feeling very similar to financial? Think you're going to be okay with it? Is there anything you need me to explain? Everybody's good? All right. So far, so good. That's what I like to see. All right. So, chapters 1 and 2 this week. Next week will be just chapter 3. So that'll be kind of a relief. Shouldn't have too many problems with it. We'll do the exact same thing. I'll go over the homework, make sure I explain everything to you. Hopefully this helps eliminate a lot of questions. That's one of the reasons that I do these webinars, so that I can hopefully hit your questions off at the pass. Let's see. Let me know if you have any other questions. The homework was technically due tomorrow by midnight, but Bobby, we had several students that told me McKendree themselves actually sent them the wrong book. So they're in the process of trying to get them the right book. So I am going to put up, I'm going to actually put up the homework deadline to Friday at midnight. And hopefully everybody will get their books in time to hit that. I'll probably be pretty lenient this first week, but going forward, the deadline is the deadline. So it's everybody's responsibility to make sure they have the right book and to get one somehow. I can't really extend anything else. Now, the answers to the homework, you will see that you will get a PowerPoint presentation on Thursday will become available under your module documents. Okay, so let me go back to Blackboard real quick. Let's see. So if you go into your modules, you can kind of see what I can see. Okay, you guys can't see all of this right now, but I can. So you'll see module 1 homework solutions. You'll click this right here, and that'll download a PowerPoint presentation with all of your answers to the homework solutions, and you'll see what they are. You need to go in every week and compare your homework answers to what you submitted. Okay, so you need to compare these solutions to what you submitted. I'm not going to send them back to you. I will send you an email confirming that I got your homework and what your grade is. Now, this semester is a little bit different than last semester. Last semester we did homework based on module, and it wasn't worth quite as much. So this semester we're doing homework based on chapter. So like in the first one, Module 1, you have a Chapter 1 homework grade and you have a Chapter 2 homework grade. So each one's worth 13 points, and I'll give you credit for what you turn in and what you do. I will take a look especially at your homework answers to make sure that they're correct. If they are way off, I probably will take points off. If you got mostly everything right, it's formatted well, you submit good work, you'll likely get full credit. Okay? So just make sure that, again, you're turning in good quality work. I do expect that, and I think everyone can kind of attest that was with me before. This isn't a class that you just get given an A. So I make you earn it, and I do that because I've had to earn all of my grades, and it's the only way you're going to learn. So I will let you know, what you need to look at in terms of problems. So I do send you feedback, and then just make sure that, again, you're listening to the webinars, the recordings, you watch them back over if you need to, and go through the PowerPoints. Definitely go through the study guide. Here's your Module 1 homework discussion board. You can talk to your fellow students in that. You can also ask me questions. Okay? I will watch it and, just kind of make sure that I have answered all your questions. Quickest way, though, because this is not connected to my phone, if you need an answer fairly quickly, is to go through either my email or a text. Okay? So, anything else? Anybody else have any questions? Okay, so about what Jeanette asked earlier about question 2, will we need to do fixed cost on cost of food even though they just asked for the variable? Yes, you do have to. That's what I was saying. You will have to go ahead and do the variable cost on that as well, because you have to have it in order to get this total cost equation. Okay, so for the food, you have to fill out both columns whether they ask for it or not. Okay, so you have to find both the fixed cost and the variable cost. And the reason being, it's the only way you're going to get this total cost, which you have to have in order to answer question C. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Good, good, good. All right. My chat wasn't moving down, so I didn't see you guys were answering. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Anything else that I can help with tonight? I'm really happy you guys are all in here. Can't wait to watch you progress. It's going to be a great class. Don't worry about it. Accounting's always intimidating, but, we'll get through it, and don't stress out about it too much. I'm here for you.
Okay, quick question before you leave, just to make sure I'm not losing my mind. But on the E21, the one that we're working on, the rent, that's fixed.
Right.
So we still have to show.
Yes, you will still have to put that in there.
Because otherwise C will not work out without the.
Right.
Okay, I'm just making sure I fully understand.
Yep. No, you are exactly right, and that's a good point of clarification. The rent cost you will have to put in this fixed column, because otherwise your total cost will not come up correctly.
So on the few that are fixed, we still have to show all the way.
Right.
Okay, just making sure. Because the book is tricky, and it just says,
Exactly. So let me go back to the book real quick. That's a great point.
And if you have a choice, I think you should get a new book.
Yeah, I don't get to pick the books. I'm not that important.
Well, hopefully you become that important, since everybody, likes you. So.
Until I'm able to be full-time faculty, that's not going to happen. So
I can hope. And this book is just tricky.
It is. And honestly, to be honest with you, all accounting books are ridiculously tricky. It doesn't matter what publisher you go with, they are all that way. And they do it intentionally because honestly, it really makes you learn the information and it makes you think about what you're doing. And you're asking great questions. I mean, yes, you do have to show the fixed cost on each one of these because it's saying use the high-low method to develop it. And part of that is to be able to put that fixed cost in there. Okay? So, I will tell you, you know what, I'm going to give you the answer to the fixed costs. So at this right here, when you get done with it should be $7,600. Okay?
Well, that helps a lot.
So now you have to figure out the rest of the puzzle. So this is what your fixed cost total should be. Okay?
Thank you.
That help? Okay. Perfect. You are quite welcome. Matt?
So should I resubmit my homework in Excel format with this equation?
Matt, I haven't had a chance to look at yours yet. I know I saw that you sent it, but I was actually going to do that right after this.
Okay.
If you want to go ahead and submit it back in this format, that's fine.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that.
It's your call. But if you know that these answers are wrong, you know, you tell me. Do you want me to hold off on looking at it, or?
No, everything that you've done on the board here appears to be correct, but I'll go ahead and put it in the Excel format. That way it's there for you.
Okay. Hang on a minute. Let me see if I can get up another. I hate Internet Explorer. I'm going to go ahead and pull yours up real quick.
Okay.
Not on screen. Not on screen. I'm pulling it up over off to the side, and I'll let you know real quick if it's. I think you did yours in PowerPoint, didn't you?
No, I went ahead and typed it out in Word.
Oh, that's fine. Don't go through the trouble of redoing it. If you've already done it in Word, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm pretty easy on the first week because nobody knows what I'm expecting or anything else. So I just prefer Excel because it's easier for you guys to go ahead and like type in equations like this and get it to calculate out rather than you having to worry about what you did on a calculator, to figure this out. It's especially on exams, if you can do it in Excel, it can save you A, a lot of time, and B, a lot of unanticipated mistakes. Okay? I know myself, sometimes I do what I call fat fingering on the calculator. Doesn't work out well. I'm a little bit better in Excel because I can go back and check my work. Okay? Everybody okay with the deadline of Friday? Just, again, please don't look at the answers if you haven't turned your homework in. That's all I ask. Just academic honesty right there. Okay? But hopefully this has helped you. And, hopefully everybody gets their books and all is well, especially before Sunday, because obviously that's when, the quiz is due on Sunday at midnight. So let's just talk about the due dates real quick because it's real easy to remember. So Wednesdays are always going to be homework due days with the exception of this week because of the book issue. Okay? So Wednesdays will always be your homework due date. Thursday morning at 8:30 every week you will have the answers to your homework listed under your Blackboard modules. So these homework solutions right here, you can see will be available March 19th at 8:30 a.m. They're always going to be available on Thursday morning at 8:30. So that's why if you don't turn in your homework before the due date, you can't get credit for it. Because otherwise you could go in and look at the answers and there they are for you. Okay? This week's going to be the exception to that. I'm going to trust everybody on week 1. You know, it's up to you. All right? Keep in mind, these homework problems that you do, there's a reason you're doing them. They're likely going to show up on the exams. So if you don't understand them, you need to say something before we get to the exam. Okay? Then the quizzes, those are always due on Sunday. Okay? With the exception of the last week. The last week in every single class I've done has always been a short week. Okay? So the last week will go from Monday to Thursday, and the homework will be due Monday. The quiz and the final exam are due on Thursday. Okay? Otherwise, all quizzes are due Sunday night at midnight. Okay? And I will tell, or actually at 11:59 p.m. If you try to start that quiz at midnight on Sunday night, you're not going to be able to do it. Okay? It will lock you out. So once Sunday at 11:59 p.m. passes and we hit Monday midnight, you're locked out of the quiz. You can't do it anymore, and I have to give you a 0. So just please, 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 please make sure you have it done. Okay? It will shut off after 30 minutes. So on those quizzes, make sure when you sit down to take that quiz, you are ready for that quiz. And you're ready to spend 30 minutes of uninterrupted, dedicated time to that quiz. Okay? 30 minutes goes faster than you think. But again, if you go through and you answer all the questions to my study guides before you take it, and then you use that as you're taking the quiz, you should be just fine. 30 minutes won't be an issue. Okay? So does everybody understand the due dates now?
Yeah.
Wednesdays, homework. Thursday morning, you get homework answers. Sunday night, quiz due.
And Sundays at 2 is webinar.
And Sundays at 2 will be webinars, with the exception of the week that I go on the cruise. And I'll give you guys plenty of advance.
Keep rubbing it in.
I know. Hey, it could be worse. I could put pictures up of...
Yeah, that way we can like really be jealous here. 'Cause I'm trying to juggle, you know, running a business and going to school and yeah.
Well, there's one good point to that. I won't be tied to anything to do with my day job. I will still have to do my doctoral stuff too. Yes, Felicia. So webinars will typically be on Sundays, not on Tuesday evenings. Reason for that is I have more time on Sundays to dedicate, and as we go further into the book and the chapters, sometimes we run into webinars that are 2 hours long, and it's just because there's a lot of questions, there's a lot to cover. And I want to make sure that I have an unlimited amount of time to dedicate to you guys on those days. Okay? So Sunday, I don't ever have anything due for my doctoral degree, and obviously I'm not at work on Sunday. So Sunday afternoons is about the best that I can do for you guys. And that's why we record these, and you'll see in the announcements here when we get done, I will post this recording so that everybody can go back and watch it over and over again if you need to until you understand the problems and such. Okay? Good. All right. Anything else? Any other questions?
The answers?
You'll
Had to try.
get those Thursday.
Had to try.
Nice try. All right. Yes, Felicia, they are good. I mean, they help you. They really help you work through a lot of the problems and stuff. So, and I do. I know the homework is part of your grade, and typically I try to, work through at least some examples, within your homework problems, so that you get better grades. So, thanks, Bobby.
Now, one thing I noticed
Go ahead.
this round is there's no practice problem.
I know. I noticed that too. They didn't assign any practice problems. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think that they will necessarily be beneficial. We'll go through everything in the webinars and stuff like that, and I'm kind of prepared for that. So I also have, because I know it's going to come up, especially after the midterm, extra credit.
That's because we all did horrible at financial accounting, so.
Well, we will probably do some extra credit opportunity, much like what we did in financial accounting. There are some really, really, really good case studies that you guys have in this book. You should definitely take the time to read them because they are very applicable. And there's some awesome companies. So if you have any desire to go to work for any other companies, gives you kind of a little insight into them. So my option that I may take is having you do a case study on some of the companies that are in the book, but actually asking you to go out and do research on them via the internet and pull some valid research, and I'll teach you how to do that on them and do a paper on it. So that could be a potential extra credit opportunity.
So it could be very similar to the last extra credit opportunity.
Right, but I'm going to be probably a lot stricter on this one in terms of what type of resources you use, and also making sure that you write a quality essay paper, because I got a lot of typos and bad formatting and everything else in the last one. And at this level, this far into your degree, you shouldn't be having those issues, especially if you're planning on going on for a master's. It would be a disservice to you. So, alrighty. So those are some of the things I have up my sleeve. We'll see how everybody does. If everybody knocks it out of the park, then we won't need extra credit.
Let's hope. I'm hoping that starting the webinars from day one makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think so. Well, and you guys have had me before, most of you, so you kind of know what to expect.
All right, I'm going to get out of work. I will see you Monday.
All right.
Talk to you.
Anybody else have any other questions? No problem. You are quite welcome, Felicia. It's good having you guys. Good having you in class. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Don't ever hesitate to ask a question. Believe me. I want everybody, I don't care if you think it's a dumb question or what, I want you to ask it. There are no dumb questions. Okay? Alrighty. Well, I will see you Sunday at 2 for the next webinar, and I will get that posted, that announcement posted and that set up. I will also post this one, and I am going to stop recording and get everything else put up that I told you I would. Okay? Alright, you guys have a great week. Let me know if you need anything. Bye-bye.